Hello, YouTube. You're probably wondering, where's the commercials? Get this crazy man off the screen! Well, don't worry, because there's plenty of commercials yet to come in future videos. But for this one, I wanted to share a little bit about a personal project that I've been working on. So, you know how I've shared some of my artwork before in the past? Well, for almost the past year, I've been working on a much bigger project. I illustrated a book! Pretty cool, huh? I worked with the author Erin Garcia to develop this children's book, The Case of Sensational Stims, to help autistic kids and their peers understand the ins and outs of stimming. And with me being on the spectrum myself and having stims of my own, it was a really special project to be a part of. Well, anyway, I had a chat with her recently about the book, and we wanted to share it with you, so here it is. This is Erin, the really awesome author that I've had the pleasure of working with. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. Good to see you today.
Great to see you too.
Well, I'm so excited to be here and talk about our project, our labor of love.
Well, let's start from the beginning. Like, how did you find me? It's kind of like an unlikely pairing mishmash of two people from opposite ends of the country, right?
That's exactly right. It was purely luck. I definitely hit the jackpot. I had this idea for our book, and at the time, I didn't really know who I'd have illustrate it, but I wanted to get someone who was familiar with the content that I was trying to talk about, which is stimming.
Sure.
Is a really important behavior for people who are, for many people, but especially neurodiverse people, especially people who are autistic. There's a lot of different ways to describe it, but stimming is basically a behavior. A lot of times it's repetitive behavior, and it's usually used to like soothe yourself in a stressful or exciting, just basically an emotionally charged situation. Is that fair to say? Would you agree?
I'd agree.
And
yeah.
So stimming can have there's a billion ways to stim, but some really typical ways you might see people rocking back and forth, tapping
Fiddling
their foot, fiddling with their glasses, chewing, biting their nails. Gosh, what are some other ways? Oh, echolalia, where you repeat a phrase, repeat a phrase, repeat a phrase, repeat a phrase, because it's very soothing. Sometimes you stim because you're like just emotionally charged. It could be a positive emotion, it could be a negative emotion, or sometimes it has to do with like sensory input, right? Like it could be really loud noises. And so that is what the book is about. So I was like, if I could find an artist who's familiar with stimming, how would I go about finding that person? I just searched a couple things and I typed autism and illustrator, something to that effect. And I found your GoFundMe page about you going to your academy in California.
Yeah, the school, right?
Something to that effect. And I saw you on the news clip, how you were trying to raise money to get out to do this, opportunity. And it displayed some of your art and told me a little bit about your backstory. And I was like, oh, my, this would be the perfect person. How do I go about getting this person? And so somehow I found your email through a series of events and I reached out to you. I think I initially called you to be a reviewer of the book. Isn't that how it started?
Yeah, so like you wanted me to just have a look at it and give you feedback, I think.
At first I was like, okay, I just need to get input on this topic, because what I found a lot of children's books about special needs or any kind of need, there tends to be a lot of well-meaning authors tend to get it wrong. And so I paid you and a series of other people who are very knowledgeable about this topic to review the book, give me feedback. What is going right? What's going wrong? And then that's how it was. Once we connected and we talked on the phone, and you gave me some feedback. And then I think I maybe mentioned like, so do you do any illustrations anymore? And then that's sort of how you drew up some sketches. And then we figured out, hey, this might be a good fit.
As soon as you said that like you liked Ren and Stimpy, I knew that you would be a great person to work with.
I love cartoons. Like I've always loved them, so it's fun to have that connection.
Totally. Yeah. I remember like when I first found that out, and my mom, of course, has very interesting feelings about the show. But I told her,
probably doesn't like it too much.
It grew on her eventually. But I told her, very early on, hey, this person I'm working for, she likes Ren and Stimpy. Your mom was just like she...
She's like, well, maybe you don't want to work with her. No.
No,
Yeah,
I'd be an idiot if I didn't work for you.
well, I'm so glad I'm smart enough to hire someone like you. But I also think it's different because your mom didn't have Nickelodeon growing up, but I certainly did,
Yeah.
and I think that makes a difference. So.
Yep. So, like, what about, like, my particular style of illustration really told you that, like, you wanted me specifically out of all these different people to do the work for you?
Well, what I really liked about yours was how playful your drawings were. Oh. And in my mind, originally the book was going to be more like a comic book type of a flavor. But I didn't want it to be very. Sometimes children's books tend to be like they kind of overdo it on like the fluffy, like dreamlike, hazy, beautiful pictures. And I didn't want it to be soft. And I didn't want it to be like severe or like too like lifelike. I didn't know what I wanted, but I knew what I didn't want, and I kind of had a vibe. And so I interviewed quite a few people to do the illustrations, but yours were definitely exactly the style that I wanted. So I was like so thrilled.
It was a lot of fun just seeing my artwork being used for like an actual project for the first time. I mean, I've been drawing for almost as long as I can remember, since really since I was like 6 at least, something like that. And I've been doing my own storyboards for cartoons and stuff, and it's like it's this kind of thing that like you think, hey, it'd be so cool if like my work was in a project like this.
Yeah.
But you never think, holy moly, this is actually here. Here it is. I've got like my own copy of the book right here, and it's like, hey, there it is.
Isn't it?
This is my artwork.
I know. I love it. It's so great.
One thing that I had to like adapt to was I'm used to thinking, okay, I draw really cartoony and goofy and exaggerated. And having to like tone down my drawings for a book and take feedback and directions from my boss you was it was difficult to like figure it out, because I mean I think even with this horse, the Pegasus, we went through so many different designs and versions. There was like, I think, a realistic one and not realistic one. There was one where his nose was just like
But if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, one of the main reasons I hired you was because of your Pegasus. Do you remember that?
Oh, it was?
Yes, because I had illustrators draw their version of it, and whatever I had in my head, you were the one who got what I had in my head on paper. And it's so funny that you say that, because that was the reason why I wanted you to draw the pictures for this book. The thing that gave you the biggest headache was I think anytime you try to make something a project, it's very rare that it just goes perfectly according to plan and you have this idea in mind and you just go straight to that idea. But I think we knew the big main message, and then we were able to execute it. So I think it was great.
It really was.
Yeah. It's a great project.
Yeah.
So I think everyone should look for it on Amazon on August 31st.
You heard it here. So August 31st.
So check it out on Amazon. And I think, the people who could benefit from this book would be like anyone who wants to learn more about autism or sensory differences or neurodiversity, either personally, maybe because they're exploring it within themselves, or they want to support someone who's neurodiverse. This is the book for you.
Definitely. And if you want a link to the book, I'm going to include it in the description. Definitely. Once the book is released, and you can buy it there.
Great.
Or if you don't like clicking links, you can Google it yourself and just look up the case of Sensational Stims.
Yes, sensationalstims.com. Well, thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you as always.
It was a pleasure.
I can't wait to see what happens with our project and our next project too.
Yeah, definitely.
Dun, dun, dun.
Ooh, to be continued. Yeah, I think a lot of people are really gonna find that they love this book. I'm very proud of it. I think for both of us, it was a labor of love, and yep.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And until next interview, hasta la pizza.
Hasta la pizza.